Alright, what's up? I'm back. I am back and better than ever. Maybe. Possibly? Jury's out on that. I wanted to do something actually with with my webcam here, I wonder. I probably won't get to do that this stream. I might have to write it down. Eh, eh, or that. There we go. I was thinking about making a drop shadow element for the webcam in the top right. I mean, there's like it depends. I don't know how it will look, but I think if there were some other elements of the stream overlay that had a drop shadow, it could be interesting. If it doesn't look good though, I don't think I'll keep it. The one thing I'm adamant about the drop shadow looking good with is the Twitch chat. That I think is good thing to have that shadow with. But who knows? It could be good for other stuff too. Anyways, I'm here to play Mario Kart, and I'm also here to talk about politics and other associated things. That's what I'm here to do. Um, hey, Flat Earth Dennis, welcome back to chat. I actually wanted to say before we get started properly here, I think I don't know if I called this out when it happened a few days ago, but somebody followed me. DKSC for life followed on January 30th. It was either during stream and I didn't see it, or it was like right after stream and I didn't see it, something like that. But thank you very much to them for the follow. Glad to have more eyeballs on the stream. And we got a custom track room right away. All right. I want to check to see how long the video I was planning on looking at is before I get into it. 23 minutes. Okay. Canned soy milk, welcome back to chat. Alright. I was gonna do this stream. I am gonna do some React content. Everybody loves a good React Andy. To Just a Robot. Apparently he was one of the Gamergate era sort of commentators. But I don't want to do that right away. I'd rather that be like the main fixture of stream. Bro's a communist? Yes, although I don't generally use that label because online communists are fucking cringe. Cringe, excuse me. I read your name and I saw TR and I instinctively made that sound. Welcome to chat, MP Tristan UK. My condolences for being British. But aside from that, yeah. What do I start with here? Let me just start with something where there's a decent enough outline for me to work with, right? And that is Arizona. The state of Arizona, many such cases. Regrettably, it is a state that exists. And people live there, so I've been told. But I'm not here to talk about the thing that I would usually talk about in a state like Arizona, which is climate change wreaking havoc on the state and its water supply. I'm here to talk about Republicans being cringe and hating democracy, because you know, they tend to do that sort of thing. I made sure to pull up a Guardian article. I've had a drink called Arizona before, I think, so I'm an expert on it. Very true. You're probably not missing much if you know, that's the source of your expertise. That's probably all you need. Here we go. Arizona Republican says state lawmakers, not voters, should pick the president. From State Senator Anthony Kern, who was a fake pro-Trump elector in 2020, says that the legislature should choose the electors for president. So for a little bit of background, in 2020, when it was very evident that Trump was going to lose the Electoral College in the election, Trump decided, hey, what if I put together another group of electors, you know, the people whose job is to officially cast the vote for president, and had them say, actually, we think the popular vote was fraudulent in these states, so we're going to vote for Donald Trump anyway. This was his plan, him and actually his administration as well. This was their plan to steal the 2020 election and sort of reinstall Trump in a sort of soft coup to be president again, whereupon he would inevitably turn into some flavor of right-wing dictator. Right? This was one of the masterminds behind that plan, or at least one of the many brains involved in it, is this Arizona state legislator. And so now he's actually introduced, he hasn't just said, he's introduced a bill into the Arizona legislature to enshrine this into law, that the electors from each state would just be allowed to do that. You know, like, I'm sure they do some sort of legalistic hand-waving, but ultimately what it comes down to is if the state legislature and like the slate of electors looks at the presidential vote tally and decide we don't like this for whatever reason, then they can decide to just cast their vote for another candidate. Now, this used to actually be allowed in a broader sense in other states, but that was sort of before Republicans went full mask off and decided that they're just willing to throw democratic processes entirely out of the window. And that was also a practice that was banned. I believe there's a Supreme Court ruling on it pre-pandemic that said that, like, we can't do this anymore because that would, like, violate democracy or whatever. You know? So they don't do that anymore. But this guy wants to bring it back so he can, so they can elect Trump in 2024. There are some other things I have to say about this, but I want to read some of the details of the article first to see if there are any like key bits that are worth me picking up on here. Anything more, that is. Don't fall off. Okay. Okay, so far so good. And I have done it! Alright, cool. Alright. The Guardian. Yeah, a proposal from an Arizona lawmaker calls for the state legislature to decide on presidential electors, electors, excuse me, instead of adhering to a popular vote. This guy served as a fake elector in 2020, falsely asserting that Trump won the state. Let's see. In Arizona, the fake electors are under investigation by the Democratic Attorney General, as confirmed by the Attorney General's office. He also attended the January 6th rally at the U.S. Capitol. So this guy's a Jan 6er, and he is in state government. Very cool. This goes into the actual wording. Oh, wow, they actually don't provide a reason. I was wrong about that. The Senate concurrent resolution, that's the bill that was introduced, says that the, quote, sole authority to appoint presidential electors, excuse me, Jesus Christ, can't speak today, should fall to the legislature. So basically, we just get to decide that. It, like, not even putting up the veneer of, like, well, if we don't like it. It's just, no, we get to say. It doesn't matter what the other outcomes are. As a concurrent resolution, the proposal does not require the governor's signature and does not have the force of law. Oh, okay. It more is the legislative body's opinion on an issue or position. Wait, but isn't that law? Hold on. Oh, no, okay, I think I get it. So they're trying to basically force this thing through without having to get the governor, Katie Hobbs, to like sign off on it. Because even if it doesn't have the force of like a really, really hard law or whatever, it's still like, yeah, but this is the lawmaking body's official opinion on the matter, so it's kind of like a law. So that they'll just get to do that, I guess. Oh, what? I got locked in my wheelie. But I guess now that opens me up to say some of the other things that I wanted to say about this resolution that's been proposed. Now that I know that like there's not actually much detail to be gone into here because it is as it appears. This is part of the Project 2025 playbook for the Republicans. I mentioned this in my very, very angry rant about Joe Biden capitulating to Greg Abbott and whatever. But the Republicans basically want to start driving wedges between their own state governments and the federal government, particularly with regards to the validity of elections, either in their state or at the federal level, so that if a Democrat wins, Republican state officials can functionally decide, well, we don't think you actually won, so we're going to put our guys in charge anyway. And basically use that wedge as a defense against the federal government, saying you're literally cheating in this election. So they're trying to establish rules at a state level that enabled them to do this while eroding at the federal authority to enforce the integrity of federal elections, such as the case with the presidential election. That is the broad strategy of Project 2025 and the conservatives. Is that they want to basically deconstruct and get rid of fair elections in the United States and make it impossible for Democrats to win by virtue of making it so that a Republican just gets to decide whether a Democrat can win or not, like is allowed to win or not. Which would not be good. It would really not be good. And for the sake of democratic institutions in the whole country, I hope that the Democrats in Arizona have more of a spine than the Democrats at the federal level, and I hope that the Attorney General that's prosecuting and investigating this case sends this guy to the slammer for insurrection or something like that. Very normal stuff happening in the Republican Party, I must say. Very normal indeed. Is there anybody else online? I don't know if there's... no, that's the same couple of people again. Let me do normal worldwides. Let's see what that is. That's all about. Try some of that. Yeah. Who do we got? Santos. Huh? I know that guy. I'm kidding, I don't. Thinking of George Santos. Wonder what track they're enjoying right now. Ah, Ghost Valley. This is always a fun one. Oh no! Poor bastard. Looks like it's lap 3. Yeah, okay. the next thing. This next thing is actually fucking visceral. Uh, I don't know if my European audience can handle this. It's way too American and unhinged for the average European individual. Uh, this was all over my newsfeed this morning and yesterday as well. From Reuters, Pennsylvania man, unfortunately not Florida man because that'd be too fitting. Pennsylvania man accused of decapitating father and showing head on YouTube. When they say accused, I might lose my head from the insane news. I see what you did. When they say accused, that's just a legalistic framing that lawyers have to engage in or whatever. There is no question. This guy decapitated his own dad and then showed the head on a YouTube video and proceeded to go on a rant about how, like, fucking Joe Biden is bad or something, and only Donald Trump can save this country, or something insane like that. The big thing was just that his extreme right wing ideology and presumably insane degree of mental illness drove him to literally decapitate his dad for being a liberal. Actual insane juice. I don't even know how to describe that. But this is the kind of this is the future that conservatives want, or something. No, this is the kind of base that the right wing cultivates ultimately. Yeah, here, hold on. The video, which was 14 minutes long on YouTube, was called Mon's Militia. The guy's last name is Mon, M-O-H-N. Call to arms for American patriots. So basically just doing some "the West has fallen, billions must die" rhetoric. Here, I decapitated my dad to prove it, or some shit like that. Oh, bro. I'm behind Intercontinental Ballistic AK-47. Hype. He showed his dad's head twice in the video and said he is now in hell for eternity. Great. Cool. Most normal Christian in America. We've done it. We've found the most normal out of the whole group of them. Actual genuine accomplishment. Am I gonna win because of that one blue shell? That'd be tragic for that person. Well. Let's go back to this article here. Let's see here. Charged with killing his own father and showing his decapitated head in a YouTube video. Yeah, he didn't just kill him, I think he cut his head off to kill him. I don't know if oh no, he was I think he was dead before he was decapitated. Charged with abuse of a corpse. Okay. He was ordered to remain in custody. Yeah, for a guy like this, I'd be comfortable just remanding him to custody. This guy is a fucking severe danger to himself and everybody in the vicinity. The police went to the family's Middletown home after receiving a call from the guy's mother. There they found his 68-year-old father decapitated in a bathroom with a lot of blood around him. Hot damn. And a knife and machete in the bathtub. Dude, imagine what's going through the mom's head right now. Jesus Christ. I feel so bad for that, for that woman. This is just like, what do I even say? The right is insane? Like, this is this is an accurate representation of how insane the right is. If they, like, if one little thing changed in their brain that made them think that they could get away with this, they'd probably just, you know, decapitate their family and, or like at least kill them if they thought they were liberals who hate America or something, you know? Fucking... It like, if I were an Onion article, like, writer, if I were working at The Onion and I saw some shit like this, I would be pulling my hair out because of how hard this would make my job. Like, Jesus Christ, how do you satirize this? How do you make some sort of snarky, witty, like, funny comment about, oh, haha, isn't the right crazy? Like, this is just what they do now. Three mushrooms in third? Huh. Ow. I got owned. No, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, that was a good try. That was a good throw by that guy. What's up, ICB AK-47? Oh, no. Hopefully I'll get a decent enough item at this last box. Ah, I see. Oh, no. Oh, well. I drove okay that race. Does this article say anything that I can, like, actually comment on? Or is it just like, wow, this guy killed his dad because he's a MAGA freak and his dad was a liberal? Let's see. Okay, here we go. The killing comes amidst the most sustained spate of political violence in the United States since the 1970s. According to a Reuters investigation last year, that reporting documented at least 232 politically motivated acts of violence since Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Those attacks included riots and brawls at political demonstrations, plus politically motivated beatings and killings. So that they're I guess that's some valid statistics to bring up, that, wow, politics are getting more violent on a person-to-person level, that is. Politics is about violence, just in general, and, like, when you use it and when you don't. Like, all politics is violent inherently because of policy making. Laws are backed by the threat of violence, if not violence itself. And in fact, the reason that the threat of violence is credible is because violence will be used in enforcing certain policies. Or most policies, actually. But yeah, this doesn't... WTF is the live title. That's the news. That's what happened. Did you see it? Some guy in Pennsylvania was like a MAGA freak and like beheaded his own dad. Oops. Yeah. He proceeded to put... Okay. He didn't just behead his dad, by the way. He beheaded his dad and then made a YouTube video where he showed his dad's decapitated head on camera and then ranted about how Joe Biden is a traitor to this country, and if you support him, you're a traitor, and like, all that. And said this is a call to arms for American patriots or something. Like, I was literally just talking about, like, I'm having a difficult time commenting on it. Link? Yeah, I can provide the link. Just give me a minute. There's a Reuters article on it. I'm not linking the video, but I will link the news article. The video got taken down from YouTube. But yeah, earlier I was lamenting that, like, dude, if I were a satire writer, like working at the Onion or whatever, how do you satirize this shit? How do you make satire about shit this insane? Like, it is too insane to make satire about. I don't know. Got owned by the Wigglers. Tried to go around him, but that was not a good decision. Aha. Got him. Oh, smart cookie. He jumped off. Still got second, I think. Okay. Here is, for all interested, here's the link to the Reuters article. Why his dad, though? He do something bad to him? His dad was a liberal. He explicitly, the reason he beheaded his dad is because of their political differences. You see, this guy is a, his dad was a cop? No. Actually, is that the case? I don't know if that was the case. No, his dad worked for the federal government, which means he was most likely just in some sort of paper pushing or data entry work. His dad was a liberal and had voted for Joe Biden. He said he was a federal employee and that's why he killed him. That's not why he killed him. He killed him because he was a liberal. And that was enough. The ideological difference between being a fascist and being a liberal for this guy was enough to motivate him to kill his own dad. That and of course a heaping helping of mental illness, because you can't get to that point without some mental illness to boot. He literally told people to attack federal employees after showing the head. Yeah. Dude, federal employees are not cops. If you work for the federal government and you are a cop, that means you work in the FBI as an investigator or an agent, right? That means something very specific if you're both of those things. If you're just a federal employee, you could probably, you could be working in, I don't know, fucking, like, mail delivery. Mailmen are federal employees. And so are park rangers if they work at national parks. Those guys aren't cops. Or hell, anybody that works at a national park that is managed by the federal government is a federal employee. So, like, you could be a receptionist and be a federal employee and stuff. The federal government's just an employer that does a bunch of things. Or not just an employer, but it is an employer and does a lot of things. No, I missed the box. But because being a federal employee means you work for the federal government and like directly or indirectly for the current administration of the federal government, that does technically mean, like, if you're a federal employee, you work for Joe Biden. Just like if you were a federal employee in the Trump administration, that means in some capacity you work for Trump. But that doesn't make you, like, I don't know, aligned with him. There are plenty of federal employees that aren't liberals. the reason that this guy killed his dad is for the ideology, not just because of the, like, federal employee shit. Pretty wild, though. Oh, you watched Dylan's video on it? Okay, maybe Dylan knows more than I do. Might be. I will cede to Dylan Burns because he's a way cooler human being than me. I think someone is standing in front of my door. I heard loud screams. Are you alright? Please don't joke about that shit. If like, that's really happening. You should probably... I'm dumbfounded by that. Please tell me that's a joke. I hope that is a joke for everybody's sake. Enough of that article. I have much more to say. I just checked and no one's there. Ah, the classic auditory hallucination. Who among us has not had auditory hallucinations? Is the Lithuanian CIA spying on you? True. The Lithuanian government has its hands everywhere. Oh boy, a hacker. It's been a while since we've had one of those. I will now behead my mother. Hey, look, no Fed posting, alright? We don't condone that. Is that going to be a recurring thing, that guy hacking, or is he just fucking around? If he's hacking and is just wreaking havoc in last place, I mean, I saw the race started and a guy was instantly in a bullet bill, so that's the only explanation I can think of. But if for some reason that's not the case, then I don't know what's going on with me. Honestly, I don't have that many moral problems with hacking if you're not doing it to win. You know? If you're not doing the whole, like, haha, I hacked so I can get first every race or top the leaderboards in whatever game. I don't have that much of a problem with it. Whoa, what? Okay. I see him in a bullet bill back there. Best way to hack is to lower your internet quality to unlock the teleportation hacks. True, if you give yourself a lag switch, you won't even get banned. Yeah, that's right. Because it's like, yo, my internet is too laggy. What the fuck? Little did they know, I did that on purpose. Yeah, I think that guy is hacking. It's like every time I see him, he's in a bullet bill. But hey, as far as I can tell, he's not doing it to, like, overtake first all the time, so I'm perfectly fine with it. Alright. I have one mushroom. What do I do with that? I think I do this. Please don't hit me. Thank you. Third place box. Oh, I'll take that. Yay. He can't get first because of CTGP anti-cheat? Oh, okay. In that case, I am ethically okay with somebody cheating, as long as they're not doing it to, like, fuck everybody else up and get first or whatever. Imagine it's just his alt cheating to help his main account win. Dude, that would be so fucking next level. He's got 2 Wii's set up. He's got 2 Nintendo Wii's set up. And like, on the one of them is the fucking thing where he's just spamming the L button, getting bullet bills every time. And then the other one, he's actually, like, racing. That'd be really funny. Alright, the next bit. The next bit I don't have a news article for. It's just it's been making the rounds on Twitter, and some people I know brought it up. Did he leave? I think he's still here. It was that Jacob guy, right? He might still be here. I'll have to look behind me to see if he's still there. Yeah, he's still here. Instantly threw a blue shell. Fuck it, Agent of Chaos shit, let's go. So far, the way that he's behaving has made the game more fun. I'm down, honestly. Fuck me right up. Lightnings and blue shells can affect you. Yes, I know. I know that blue shells can, at the very least. Like, if you throw a blue shell in first, you will just blue shell yourself. I've done this before. Same thing with blooper. If you're in first and you use a blooper, you just blooper yourself. How did I not hit that banana? Whoa! What's up, Jacob? Okay, now I have an issue with him cheating because he is doing it to take over first. Oh. And then he blue shelled himself. Hello, sir. Yeah, have fun back there. Sincerely, I mean that. He's preparing for the sweet 4-week ban. Ah, I see. I see. Dude, honestly, I like this guy. He's behaving like a homie. He did the thing where he's like, haha, what if I took first? Just kidding, unless... And then he blue shelled himself. He's like, nah, just kidding. I didn't actually mean it. So let's see what he's doing back there. Okay, just coming in middle position or whatever. Maybe even permanent? Yeah. I know that the like bans can be really strict for people that cheat on CTGP and all that. Oh no, maybe he has it hard-coded. He might actually have a cheat that makes him get last every race. He will always... Oh, he will always appear last. Okay. Honestly, I'm okay with this. Because all he's doing is bulleting past everyone and then blue shelling himself and then doing like that same shit again. Even if he gets first. Okay, okay. I like that system. I do. Because it limits the amount of damage that a cheater could do to a lobby. But it's still, like, it's fun to have him around at least for a little bit. What a silly goober. Anyways. Y'all know what I think about the New York Times? I think they're hot garbage. Awesome. What a way to introduce this segment. This has been making the rounds on Twitter a little bit. Some people I know posted it. And I have some thoughts on the... Are you American? Yes, I am. I have some thoughts on the article itself, even though I didn't read it because I don't need to read it because it's an op-ed, and the only thing you need to read in an op-ed is the title, and the rest of the article will be even worse than that. So, you know, best practice is just to read the title of an op-ed, and if it gives you brain damage, then don't read the rest of it because the rest of the article will give you even more brain damage. What got posted recently in the New York Times was an opinion piece about trans people, because like every now and again it's the New York Times certified pastime that they'll just publish something about trans people that's like blatantly transphobic, and basically uses one of the largest and most name-recognizable newspapers in the world to give credence to right-wing arguments about trans people being degenerate and like grooming kids and whatever. And in this case, it was an opinion piece about, I don't fucking know, rapid onset gender dysphoria, a fake thing that was made up by right-wing talking heads and one like quack researcher after interviewing a bunch of transphobic parents about what they think of their kids transitioning and whatever. You can imagine how that went. But it has now resurfaced in this New York Times article because they decided that, gosh darn it, the American people just can't get enough of transphobia, and trans people have it too good. And they did the same bit. There's nothing really new to add on to transphobic talking points. They're all the same. They've always been the same at their core, even if they were cloaked in more or less rhetoric about caring about the well-being of kids prior to now. The only interesting thing to note is that they have shifted the goalposts of rapid onset gender dysphoria so that now what they're describing is just regular gender dysphoria. The previous rapid onset gender dysphoria is when it happens really quickly. But then in this article, they say something like, I don't know, several months to several years, which is a pretty normal time for symptoms of a mental illness to start showing, I think. Here we go. This is a tweet from somebody that I know. Wait, no, hold on. Let me look at the screenshot. Let's see. Tween and teenage girls express gender dysphoria despite never having done so when they were younger. There's actually a reason that people sometimes exhibit gender dysphoria as like teenagers when they didn't as young children, is because as kids, people are still learning what being a boy or a girl actually means. It's almost like as a kid, in some ways, you almost don't know enough to fully form those thoughts on like case by case basis, of course. You know, in your preteen and like teen years, that's when you start to become a lot more cognizant of the world around you. I don't have any like official experience in like education or whatever, but I've heard from people who do that like that is a phenomenon that happens where like you can kind of see kids growing up in real time, and that like they're a bit more aware in middle and high school than in elementary school, and that tends to be a time when they start to realize more things about themselves. And it's it's not a coincidence that depression is also a thing that shows up frequently when kids are middle or high school age, but not necessarily at elementary school age. This is the same thing. They've just simply rebranded. They've simply attempted to rebrand it as some sign of trans degeneracy that the malicious trans activists are trying to do to our children, our glorious chattel property. I mean, future. You see, and stuff like that. But yeah, stuff like that. Ultimately, this is why I say that the New York Times is garbage. Just like most other mainstream news publications, you know. And you might say, well, what's the good news outlet? That's the secret. There is none. There is no such thing as a good news outlet. You have to view everything with an intensely critical eye because news is owned privately. And this is an example of private interests always favoring fascism over the marginalized communities that fascists target, because you would probably never find a New York Times article that was platformed this intensely, that was uncritically supportive of the trans community. Or the queer community, whatever. There's just sort of a passing acceptance that they like, they just don't talk about it. Next level sheet is playing against Chinese people and saying Tiananmen Square. Dylan Burns. Well, what about Dylan Burns? Zero bias, 100% facts. Aha, but you see, Dylan Burns is not a news outlet. He is a person who covers the news. I have a lot of respect for journalists. I have so much respect for Dylan Burns because he's a year younger than me and has done fucking war journalism, has made his own documentary. He's just a giant credit to, you know, the political movement that he and I are both broadly a part of. He's a credit to himself and everybody he works with. You know, really, there's not enough good things that I can say about Dylan Burns. He literally has the Giga Chad jaw. Like, God himself decided when he was making this man, we're gonna make him a Giga Chad. And then that was that. How old is Dylan? He's 22. I think. Here, let me look that up. That's a noble thing. Dylan Burns. I thought he was in his 30s. Damn. Yeah, no, he's a year younger than me. I'm only 23 years old. Yeah, he was born 2001. God damn. That beard is aging him. Hey, man, look, I would have a beard if I didn't shave. That's a choice. And personally, I think Dylan looks good with a beard. In fact, I think I saw a picture of him in a restaurant with it's like Loner Box and Rose Wrist or something. And he actually looked like Hagrid. It was such a fun picture. You know, he had a big jacket. He's got big shoulders too. He's just a big dude. I also think he looks good. Yeah. He's a certified based king. Benny1000, welcome to chat. First time chat. He just has a dad of an uncle vibe. Drew. Yeah. Dylan Burns is God's strongest liberal. The only liberal that I will never talk shit about in my life. Toad's Factory. What a track pick. We're almost an hour in. I wanna wrap up some of the stuff I had to talk about. Watches God's Strongest Pedo. True. He's also God's Strongest Horsefucker. The Kharkiv Kid Finder, as we all know. He has that shit down to a science. I didn't get the low trick, but that's fine. This is the 100cc. You don't need to do anything that requires like precision in 100cc. If he throws the green shells, I'm using this mega. Please throw it. It would be funny. No! My man's a fucking genius! Dylan has been strangely quiet on reporting what was happening in Kharkiv when Bosch wasn't streaming. Curious. One has to wonder. Was this possibly because some finder of Kharkiv kids was active in the region and Dylan wanted to protect this CIA asset? Because as we all know, Dylan Burns is an employee of the Central Intelligence Agency. Many such cases. Am I gonna get first? I think I am. Ah, there we go. By the way, that Just a Robot guy recommended Vosh in one of his vids? Really? Maybe I'll be less harsh on him than I initially thought I would. Who knows? Yeah, it's possible his politics are strange. His politics probably, like many Americans, are completely incoherent. So I'll keep that in mind when I'm watching it. In fact, now might be a good time to pull that up, because the only other thing I have to talk about is stuff that like isn't related to news cycle and whatnot. Let's pull this up. Let us go to the React Andy mode. Let's do it. Everybody loves himbo content, including me, the himbo himself. React Andy, properties. There we go. Yes. Show. And here it is. Is every movie bombing because of wokeness? Let us find the answer contained in this YouTube video.
The Flash has bombed at the box office. People just weren't running to go see it. Elementals has flopped at the box office. Maybe it just didn't spark enough people's interest. Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Time looks like another movie that is going to lose money for Disney. I guess people just didn't have the time to go see it. And Teenage Kraken did so terribly that it sunk to the bottom of the ocean. And it seems that no one is seeing any other movie that's coming out, aside from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. But why is this?
By the way, Across the Spider-Verse, probably the wokest fucking movie of 2023. I misspoke last time when I was talking about that in the MatPat video. It was 2023, not 2022. So, if this guy has any critical thinking metal behind him, I have a feeling I know what this video is going to be about. But it's also possible this is just an incoherent mess. So, we'll see.
Is suddenly happening? It's quite a mystery, and I'm here to figure it out. Oh, I got it. Maybe people are just sick of superhero movies. I mean, they have been making less and less money recently. Maybe people just seen too many, and they just don't want to see any more. I'm sure it's just a coincidence that the one movie that hasn't bombed is a superhero movie. I mean, after all, The Flash was a superhero movie, and it also bombed. I'm 100% sure that the reason why people didn't go see it had everything to do with superhero fatigue, and nothing at all to do with the actor Ezra Miller. I mean, come on, the pandemic just happened. The economy isn't as good as it used to be.
I have money and hold up. I have some thoughts about that. That is a valid thing to point out. Ezra Miller is a fucking monster. But that's not the only reason that the Flash movie did so poorly. The one of the big reasons is because of certain trends that were established in pandemic and post-pandemic movie making, being the like over-reliance on computer graphics, something that's been getting worse for some time, and also like overworking employees and whatever, the lack of a union for VFX workers, whatever. There is a set of surrounding circumstances in movie production that is causing movies to get worse, because they are viewed more as generic, safe investments to be made, rather than pieces of art to be worked on, produced, and thoroughly like fleshed out with the time and care that you would expect from such an intricate work of art. So in addition to Ezra Miller being a piece of shit, the reason that The Flash did so poorly is because it was a shit movie. If the movie was good and still had Ezra Miller in it, I have no doubt that people would still see it. Maybe not in as large of numbers. But the fact of the matter is the story was a hot mess. The effects were an even bigger hot mess. And that is what was wrong with that movie.
They also realize it's way more convenient to watch a movie while it's on a streaming service than going all the way.
And also the superhero fatigue a bit. Like, the one of the things that carried Across the Spider-Verse is that it was a good movie. In addition to it being about superheroes, it was kind of a deconstruction more than a flat, like, narrative reproduction of the superhero mythos. because spoilers for those who haven't seen it. I'm about to spoil Across the Spider-Verse. The bad guy in that movie is Spider-Man. Not Miles, but Spider-Man. Spider-Man is both the good guy and the bad guy in the movie. It fundamentally deconstructs our notion of, like, what is Spider-Man? What is Spider-Man supposed to be? Is this actually helpful? Or are you doing anything good by being this image of Spider-Man? And all that. So that kind of does a bit to get around the superhero fatigue, which is a real thing. But again, I'll just refer back to the fact that The Flash was a pretty shit movie. You know, obligatory CGI baby getting put in the microwave meme.
Way to a theater. I mean, come on, all of them at the same time bombed. Each and every single one of them, as long as we ignore the Spider-Verse movie. People just went to go see that movie in theaters instead of waiting for it to end up on streaming service because, I can't even think of a reason, actually. And come to think of it, aside from the Mario movie, that's the only movie I went to go see this year.
Do the Mario!
Also a knockout success. You know, it might sound a little crazy, but maybe, just maybe, these movies did well at the box office because they were good. What the fuck?
That's crazy, dude.
I've seen a few YouTubers I watch talk about this, even people like Moist Critical, and all of them seem to be missing the answer. It's all because of a little fella named Broke, first name Woke. But hold on there, Just a Robot. You just said
wait a minute.
Spider-Verse did good. Isn't that movie woke? Well,
yes,
I guess it is.
It is.
I mean,
a little? This is the wokest fucking movie that I've ever seen in my life. You could not pick out a woker movie if you tried. You could literally bring Wall Street to the table, and Spider-Man Spider-Verse would still out-woke that shit. Wall Street literally being a movie about the evils of capitalism and how the system is inherently designed to break apart legitimate lines of work, divide the world among rich fucks, and, like, screw over the common working man. It may as well be the Communist Manifesto. All of these guys tried to cancel the movie at first? Exactly. Look, this movie not only has a black protagonist and set of very diverse characters, including including Gwen, who is trans, or at least very heavily implied to be trans in the movie. But it also is, like, incredibly critical of all the power structures that anti-woke people fucking love. It has a lot of feminist undertones. It has, well, not just undertones, tones in general. The fact that fucking Gwen is treated like a person in that movie, by just about everybody, and that she's treated normally, that makes this one of the wokest movies out there. Bechdel test, eat your heart out, whatever. The fact that Hobie Brown fucking exists in this movie, literally, remember in that other video when I was talking about, like, academics pouring in to talk about this movie, that is why. Because, like, this movie was basically just, you put the skin of a Spider-Man story over an incredibly, gripping dance of ideologies between this kid who wants to make the world better and who wants basically a life of freedom for himself, in a way that seems pretty reasonable, I think, to everybody who's watching. And then, like, this spider society that is constructed in a very authoritarian, fascistic sort of way, led by a literal strongman, that manipulates the fears of a young marginalized person in the form of Gwen, and, like, tries to tell Miles that, like, oh, in order to be good, you have to be able to do bad, which is literally a thing that the Nazis believed. The bad guy in this movie is, like, ideologically sort of in line with fascistic narratives that the Nazis heavily relied on, which is not to say that the bad guys in this movie are Nazis. If you asked Miguel O'Hara, he would probably tell you that, yeah, racism is fucking cringe, homophobia is cringe, and whatever, but still, at the core, there's this weird militaristic over-reliance on toxic masculinity and strength and stoicism, and that is the bad guy. So if you're saying that this movie is kinda woke, you've lost the plot. It is the wokest fucking movie that exists probably out there. Except maybe Barbie. But that movie did good too, so. Actually, no, I think this movie... Do you support Trump? No. I do not. he might not actively want me dead like everybody else in the Republican Party seems to, but he would be perfectly willing to abide by my death and others in the queer community if it got him applause from those insane Republicans that do actively want me and other queer people dead. That is my stance on Trump. So, you know, fuck that guy. Let me get back to the video here.
Character is Blaxican, but there's so much
yes.
more to his personality.
Whoa, hold on, get it right, dumbass. He's Puerto Rican.
Just that. He's not just some Gary Stu who's good at everything. Just like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, Tom Holland Spider-Man, and Man Spider. He had to learn how to use his powers and how to become a true hero.
Now that is a critical misunderstanding, I think, of the movie, especially with the pose that he's doing. Remember I was talking about fascistic military narratives, about the hardness of like being an emotional rock or some shit like that, and stoicism? That's not what the movie's about. The movie is about like Miles' coming of age story and things like that, but it's more about him deconstructing the notion of being a hero, because he looks at all these other Spider-Men and does think that they're heroes, but then he realizes that's not good. Like, what they're doing, while in some ways it might conform to heroic standards, is not good. You know? And I think there was actually the winner.
He had to learn how to use his powers and how to become a true hero.
But also, I do agree that, like, Miles fucks up a lot, and the movie is a lot about Miles learning and becoming more confident. And by the end, you see that. I think there's the real moments, like him standing up sideways on the train, like as it's going up like this, and he stands up on it. He says goodbye, Gwen, or whatever. That's a moment where I think, you know, it kind of snapped for me that, like, oh shit, he's him. Literally, he's him. Do you think the government kills people that talk about the secrets of the government? No. Usually you just get arrested for that. In the United States, that is. Also, what do you mean by the secrets of the government? You mean, like, classified documents? Like Trump took a shit ton of boxes of classified documents with him to his private estate and like got arrested for it? That's typically what happens. I mean, Trump got off pretty easy in that respect. The government was pretty lenient with him asking for that stuff back. Dr. King was killed just for being a social activist. Yeah, that's true. I think Dr. King, though, he didn't talk about the secrets of the government. All the stuff that he talked about, none of that was a secret. Like oh, state secret in a classified document file. No, what he talked about was systemic injustice that everybody knew existed, but some people didn't want fixed. You know, the reason that Dr. King was viewed as such a threat was because he was talking about that stuff, and more importantly, because he was a competent activist that was capable of galvanizing people behind the issue and threatening existing power structures. Because don't forget, while Dr. King was the anti-racist that everybody rightly remembers him for being, he was also two other things: massively unpopular and a socialist. And that probably, I'm not going to say that like that was a bigger influence, because I highly doubt if it was. I think the biggest thing was that he was a competent activist, and that earned him the ire of the FBI. But certainly him being a socialist was like a significant part in him being assassinated. Ew, Kami? Yeah. Lol. Yeah, certified lol moment. Seriously, you can read some of Dr. King's correspondences, letters, even listen to some of his speeches, and he openly acknowledges the fact that he is in favor of what he calls economic redistributionism, which was sort of a nicer way to put socialist opinions back in the day, because if you were a socialist, you would get arrested, or at least blacklisted from probably most places of work, because, the McCarthyism was still very thick in the air in the 1960s. Anyways, I'm getting off
hero.
track. Let me get back to
It
the
isn't always easy
video.
balancing your life saving people while also still getting to class on time, along with a whole bunch of other social events. Because he's young, he's left out of the loop, and he has to do what he can to prove himself. And of course, like many versions of Spider-Man, he has to ask himself if what he's doing is the right thing or not. There's also a whole bunch of other races of Spider-Man, but I don't really care. They get just the right amount of screen time, and they're not like
I don't think I necessarily disagree with what he's saying there, but the fact that he phrased it as there's a whole bunch of different races of Spider-Man seems a little bit weird to me. You could have just said there's a whole bunch of different spider people. I don't know. I could be reading too much into that, but that sounded really weird.
lecturing me, aside from that one line from Indian Spider-Man.
Break for a cup of chai with my Maya auntie.
Bro, how are you gonna watch that movie? You don't know this man's name is fuck, I can't pronounce his name. Pravitra. God damn it! You know what? Maybe he was right. Just call him Indian Spider-Man.
Love chai tea. What did you just say? Chai tea. Chai means tea, bro. You're saying tea. Would I ask you for a coffee with room for cream? No.
This scene was so cute.
But to be honest, that's a mistake I've made, and I'm glad to be corrected on it. Indian Spider-Man, if you're watching this, I would like to return the favor to you. Use your powers to get rid of the caste system in your country.
Wow, okay, actual racism. Yeah, no, I don't think I need to take anything this guy says especially seriously, except for his Vosh recommendation, because that's based. Yeah. Do they even have a caste system in fucking Mumbatan? For all we know, they don't. Indian, haha, that means caste system. Fucking dumbass.
I've also heard arguments that the one white straight male Spider-Man is kind of a loser, especially when you compare.
Also, he's, that guy, oh no! The one white straight Spider-Man is also, it's worth noting that he's Jewish. Peter B. Parker is Jewish Spider-Man, which is very cool to me. Let's actually, I accidentally set it to mini player. I have to fix that in a minute. I don't know if he's going to say that, like, I don't know if he's gonna, like, harp on the fact that, like, oh, they made the one white Spider-Man a loser. But they did and they didn't, right? Here's my thoughts on Peter B. Parker as Spider-Man. And before I even know what this guy's gonna say, I might very well agree with him, who knows. But I do have some thoughts on that since he brings it up. I like the character of Peter B. Parker. I think Hobie calls him humbling reality Spider-Man or something like that. Which is very cute. Ultimately, I think you could make the argument that he is no more a loser. In fact, I think the strongest argument that you could make about that Spider-Man is that he's no more a loser than anybody else in the Spider Society or any other Spider-Man, right? Which is to say, he isn't a loser, but also he is. Because, you know, you can kind of think about it. Every Spider-Man is a little bit of a loser. As in, like, they have a really hard time. Most of them are very socially awkward and kind of outcast. And were sort of, in one way or another, based off the, like, nerdy high school kid archetype. At least, you know, you go back to the original Spider-Man comics and shit. And, you know, you see throughout the movie, he's got a kid. He's got a wife and kid. He's got a family. And he just sort of shows up in his bathrobe and slippers, which I respect the hell out of. And he's also incredibly smart and has probably the best conscience and the best rapport with Miles out of all the Spider-Men. So, like, I feel like the movie doesn't portray him that much as just a loser. And if it does, it's meant to sort of show that, like, yeah, all these Spider people are kind of losers. Who among us is not a loser in some way? It's something like that. I don't know.
Compare him to all the other ones. He's awkward, slower, in a robe, wearing sandals, and carrying a baby around with him.
Bro, you're gonna say that makes somebody a loser? Fuck off. Dude, this is such a surface level critique so far.
I get where those people are coming from, but I do have a few counter.
Oh wait, no, he's arguing against this. Never mind. Okay, yeah. I get where those arguments come from, and they're also stupid, and I don't agree, and I don't respect people who make those arguments. So, el bozos, I guess. I'll see what this guy has to think about it.
Counter arguments. Number one, he's from the last movie. He was a lesser version of the white straight male Spider-Man from Miles Morales' world.
His name is Penis Parker. Penis P. Parker. Ow, my hand.
The writers didn't make up this character for this movie so they could say, look, every version of Spider-Man is amazing, except for the white male. Also, when all the other Spider-Man are chasing after Miles Morales,
that's right.
He's the first one to catch up to him, and is the only one who tried to talk things out with him. So yeah, one could just as easily make an argument going in the opposite direction. Wow, dude, really? The one white male Spider-Man is the only one who tries to talk things out instead of randomly chasing after him blindly following.
Okay, I see what he's going at. He's deconstructing the, like, woke versus anti-woke idpol arguments, but I think, so, like, he likes this movie, so of course he won't criticize the wokeness. Me? What? I would never. No, yeah, I mean, I'll critique movies that I like, but honest to God, it's hard for me to find flaws in the 2023 Spider-Man movie, apart from maybe the fact that it is still, like, in some ways superhero core. You know? Certainly the way that it portrays the police. Whatever. Look, I'm getting sidetracked. Oh, the one thing I wanted to say about Peter B. Parker, I like that he mentioned that, like, oh yeah, out of all the Spider-Men, Peter B. Parker is the only one that caught up with Miles. He's an already established character, and he's the only one who actually tries to de-escalate the situation and talk to Miles. I guess, you know, this is what I mentioned earlier. He has the best rapport with Miles out of the whole bunch. Is that he is the biggest homie Spider-Man. Outside of maybe Hobie, because Hobie is, Hobie. Yeah, actually, valid point to bring up, that, like, he's actually pretty cool. Peter B, that is. Good try, Yoshi, but I was,
well,
the
it's
better
clear to me
driver.
that this movie is just pandering to MAGA people. I mean, there was also the black punk
Nobody made that argument, by the way.
Spider-Man who didn't chase after him, but he kind of just fucked off. But then we have, Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, whose race bent into being black. And just like in the comics, she's pregnant. When she's first introduced in the show, she shows up on a red cool motorcycle.
Okay. This is going to be very difficult because as we've established, I'm not good at distinguishing when he's making fun of an argument or when he's making the argument himself. If he's making this argument, this guy's a retard. But if he's making fun of this argument, I'm going to be willing to hear him out.
Cycle and takes out the villain who was giving the other two versions of Spider-Man a lot of problems. She also seems to be one of the highest ranked Spider people, and when Spider-Gwen meets her, she's completely speechless until she blurts out, "Can you adopt me?" I understand that Spider-Man is a decently strong superhero, but I'm pretty sure even for their level of strength, swinging around and doing all those kicks and flips and other things cannot be good for the baby she's carrying around.
Okay, no, yeah, this is retard shit. The fact that, like, Jessica Drew's Spider-Man does all this, like, yeah, obviously, you know, I did kind of wonder, like, oh shit, you know, she's got a baby in there. I hope the baby's okay, I guess. But, like, all of this is nitpicks. All of this shit is, like, not a real critique of that. Like, oh, they race bent her to be black. Like, okay, they wrote it pretty well in the movie. I didn't even know about Jessica Drew Spider-Woman. And I didn't know that she was white in the comics, unless it's just regular Spider-Woman, in which case I think this is actually a much better written version, at least than the original Spider-Woman. He also provided the defeater for his own argument there. It makes sense that she's here and, like, taking out the villain in this scene, because Miguel called for backup. Initially, Miguel went in alone. It's shown that, like, Miguel is super stubborn, doesn't usually like asking for help, again, because he's an insecure, like, guy that, like, wrestles with toxic masculine tropes all the time. And like, there's that scene where he's bantering with Lila about, like, hey, can you call for backup, please? And then Lila's like, you gotta say it louder. And then when he does call for backup, she shows up. She's like Miguel's number two. You know? Like, oh my god, she's black. Okay, and? When I get to a straightaway, I'll unpause. Bro.
In fact, I'm pretty sure she would go from pregnant Spider-Woman to miscarriage Spider-Woman.
It's a girl.
She also becomes the sensei to Spider-Gwen, who constantly sings her praises. Have you seen a lot of the videos on...
No. No, that doesn't happen in the movie. This guy's just doing revisionism. Initially, like, Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, in that movie, is very sympathetic to Gwen, because she probably understands, like, a little bit better than some of the people who've had less direct contact with Gwen, the experiences that she's going through. Keep in mind that Gwen Stacy Spider-Woman, at this point, has, like, basically been completely alienated from her family since, like, her dad, who's a cop, thinks that she killed her, like, her best friend and whatever. And like, she asks, can you adopt me? First of all, it's, like, really cute because she's, like, totally, awestruck by this, this Spider-Woman. But then also because she doesn't have anywhere to go. At the point where, like, Miguel and Jessica Drew are about to leave, she's like, I can't fix this. And then they're like, okay, yeah, join the club. But, you know, Jessica Drew being her mentor and stuff, she is incredibly critical of Gwen. In fact, it almost mirrored, like, when I was watching the movie, it reminded me a little bit of abusive relationship dynamics. Like, oh, I don't know if I can help you. You're falling behind here. I don't know, you know, you might not be welcome in our organization much longer. These are not the mark of somebody who constantly sings the praises of somebody else.
On my channel, especially the ones about Mary Sue's, then you probably think that I really hate this character, right? In a way, yeah.
El Bozo.
But they do have one saving grace. She's not the main character. If she was, this movie would have bombed like all the other ones.
Oh my god. I don't know how much I can actually say about this video, truth be told. Because this guy clearly isn't engaging with things that actually happen in the movie so far. At least not beyond a very surface level.
Yeah, she basically ticks off all of the progressive boxes. She's black, she's a woman, she's pregnant, and every character seems to absolutely...
She's not trans, she's not an anarchist, so not all of the progressive boxes. Dude, okay. This might be why I'm so, feel so weird arguing with this guy's critique of the Spider-Verse, is because he's critiquing the id pol mechanics of the Spider-Verse, right? Like, I'm not very id pol pilled. Like, I don't care that much that there's a prominent Spider-Woman who's black and also pregnant. I mean, I figure that, like, yeah, wow, I don't know, just hit the randomize button, whatever. It seems like they did a good job with that character. But, like, everything this guy says is very, like, anti-SJW coded. It's very bizarre, and I'd much rather be talking about... I'd rather be talking about actual things in the movie rather than the race of the Spider-Woman, honestly. You clear this corner? No, presume.
We love her, but she's clearly not the only one who's competent.
Also, the reason that she's not the main character is just because she doesn't have the fucking name recognition of Miles Morales or Gwen Stacy or fucking Peter Parker, right? That's why a movie with her would bomb. This guy's so id-pol pilled that he immediately thinks, oh, a black woman who's pregnant? Yeah, this movie would bomb if she was the main character. Not pausing for a fucking second to critically analyze why somebody would be the main character of a movie versus why somebody wouldn't. And realizing that, like, oh, wait, this is actually retarded. No writer in Hollywood, because writers in Hollywood, believe it or not, are competent and know how to write, for the most part. No writer in Hollywood would do that. Like, fucking id-pol shit, that usually isn't part of the decision-making on movies like this, when we're talking about, like, who's the protagonist and whatever. Usually it's like, oh, does this work with the story, right? Is this good writing here? Like, obviously, I'm not a professional writer, but like there was never, he's shadowboxing right now, and he's like, oh, good thing she wasn't the main character. It's like, okay, nobody ever was going to make that the case.
In fact, there are several other versions of Spider-Man in this movie who are just as competent as her. Because she's off to the side and barely in this movie, she doesn't ruin it for me. The mythical quote-unquote modern audience gets what they want.
Dude, fuck this. Oh my god. I can't engage with this.
I get what I want, a good movie. And
also the implication that you can't have a good movie if there's a black woman as the main lead. Very cool. Very, not retarded of you. Thank you.
every cop in this movie isn't portrayed as a bad person, according to my progressive...
True, actually. I like that of the movie, because there's a substantial difference between, like, being critical of the police and being critical of every single cop. In fact, that's one of my critiques of the movie, is that it's not critical enough of the police as a concept, as like an institution, whatever. Although they do hint at it. You know, obviously it's like, it does a lot for the quality of the movie that, like, the cops are also people that you in some sense sympathize with and stuff like that. This guy sounds pretty progressive usually. He's just brain dead on wokeness. I wouldn't be so surprised. There are a lot of people who sort of consume the right-wing slop that's fed to them, even unknowingly. This guy might just be part of those, part of that group of people. You know, it's kind of a trend within a trend. You know, there's a significant subset of the anti-SJW crowd from the 2010s that if you did, like, genuinely have a conversation with them and try to engage with them on like the issues that progressives and leftists actually care about, you'd probably find a lot of agreement. But that, like, they've seen enough buzzwords and enough, like, Fox News articles and enough I don't know, I don't fucking know what right-wing people like have in their media sphere. They've seen enough of the right-wing slop that their brain sees the buzzword and it gets instantly activated. I don't think he's racist. I just think he's anti-woke. I think that he is both racist and not racist for the things that he's saying in this video. If I had a serious conversation with this guy, right, it's entirely possible we would agree, excuse me, on a lot of issues. But the way that he's talking about black characters and ethnically diverse characters in movies is racist, because he is making it about their ethnicity and saying that I am glad this person is not the lead because they are black and I don't want to see that. Or rather, modern audiences or like audiences in general don't want to see that. He's projecting his internalized racism outward. Am I going to fault him for this? Partially, because I think it's the duty of every American, patriotically so, to not be a retard. But also, it's very hard to not be a retard when a lot of the stuff in the mediascape is just, like, right-wing bullshit. I don't know. I think I can kind of call it a wash. You know? Because when right-wingers say woke, what they mean is black people, right? Like, all of the like, in 2022 and 3, all the, like, right-wing content creators that were like, oh, this movie's woke, and, like, like, some of the Disney remakes, this movie's woke because a woman is the protagonist. This movie's woke because a black girl is the protagonist. This movie's woke because a black person is the protagonist. And that's ultimately what the critique boils down to. You know?
Handbook, you have to like Miles' dad because he's black, but you also have to hate him because he's a cop. So I guess they both cancel each other out.
What? I actually lost this guy's train of thought. I don't think he even knows what his train of thought is at this point, because he's talking about wokeness and shit.
He's black, but you also have to...
Here, hold on.
According to my progressive handbook, you have to like Miles' dad.
Damn, they make those? Shit. Dude, if we all had a progressive handbook, the movement would actually go way smoother. Instead, there's like a billion different subsections of progressivism that are all like hyper-fragmented Twitter communities that obsess over purity testing and shit.
Dad because he's black, but you also have to hate
Yep, see, there's the racism at play.
him because he's a cop. So I guess they both cancel
Is he automatically goes to race when he is talking about this stuff.
out. Gwen's father is also a pretty great cop. He's too honorable to break the oath he took, but he's not willing to go through with something that he thinks is wrong. So he quits the force. This movie has something for left-wing people and right-wing people in it. But people went to go see it and
Honestly, that's true. It is Gamergate brain, but I do agree with, like, you know, this is an intelligent marketing strategy. Is that let's be real, the politics of this movie are not very far below the surface in the slightest, but they are enough, like, they are plausibly deniable enough that, like, a right-wing person that isn't insane, a much more rare sight these days, increasingly so, could theoretically enjoy this movie, you know, and like, even on some sort of imagined political agreement here, like, hey, not all cops are bad people, which, by the way, is something that you as a left-wing person should agree with, because it is not the inherent character of somebody that makes them bad, but rather the material circumstances around them and the institutions that shape them into who they are. For example, the reason we say ACAB is because not every cop is necessarily a bad person, but as a product of being a cop, they're molded into a worse person than they would be otherwise. There's a reason that a lot of cops are domestic abusers, and the reason that a lot of cops struggle with mental health issues, and that is because of two things. First, the police does kind of pre-select for people who will be like that. That's sort of a feedback loop. But then also because the way that police are trained instills constantly a sense of paranoia and shit like that, where even if you were to fill a police department with the best people that you could find, most upstanding moral character, it would produce the same shit outcomes as a lot of other police systems. Granted, the outcomes would not be as bad, but the flaw in policing is fundamentally it's the system itself. It's not the people. So good and bad people is a very lib-brained and Gamergate-brained assumption that this guy is making.
enjoyed it for one simple.
But I've gone on long enough on this tangent. I accidentally forwarded and then went backward too far through the video.
But he's not willing to go through with something that he thinks is wrong. So he quit and to go see it and enjoyed it for one simple reason. It's because it was good. Just because a movie.
And there you go. That's all you need to say about this movie. Like, oh yeah, much has been made about this movie. I went and enjoyed it for one reason, and that's because the movie was good. There you go. Easy and agreeable.
Movie has a small handful of woke moments in it, does not make it woke to me. I'm still going to enjoy Invincible despite Amber being in it. But what about the other movies?
Okay, I have some comments on that. Hold on. First of all, the entire movie is woke. Let's not kid ourselves here. I mean, we've established that this guy is politically incoherent and politically illiterate, but the whole fucking movie, I've explained why it's woke. To use that term. First of all, because it has black characters, and as we know, woke is when black people. But then also, like I said, because of all the political tones present about anarchism, leftism, and the role of the state in people's lives, and the kind of, fascism and militarism that certain artifices of the state subjects people to. Gay people also, yes, that's right. Queer people also, big presence in the movie. I know that Miguel certainly turned a fair few people gay from watching that movie, so that's pretty woke, I think. But yeah, ultimately the movie is woke, and maybe not in the sense that, like, look, I don't know. I have a hard time engaging with the word woke, I'll be real, because it doesn't fucking mean anything. It means whatever right-wingers and the point they're trying to make assumes and needs it to mean, which is usually just that black people exist. So I guess I'll just leave it at, the movie was good, we agree on that, and it was good because of the woke stuff, and not despite it, because, being woke means you're not asleep or something. Look, I have lost the plot as well. This guy's brain retardation has spread to me. This is a contagious disease. I do need medical help.
Have you seen my video for why allegories for discrimination don't work? Then I think you have a pretty good idea of what the big problem with this movie. It
does work, though. Oh, also, citing your own videos. Definitely a great indication of somebody that should be taken seriously. No. I have not seen that video. I will never watch that video. Your point, therefore, is not made. You have to actually make it. El Bozo, you are wrong. I will not elaborate. Please show me data or some shit. I don't know. I can't engage with this because there's nothing here to engage with. Ultimately, this argument that he's making about
While
like
there
the
are slight
allegory for
differences
discrimination.
between the races, like white people needing more sunscreen and black people needing more conditioner, they're not as different as fire and water. Like in my allegories for discrimination video, I said if I was running a store,
yeah.
I would probably refuse service to a guy with fire powers who could burn it down. In this world, fire
Probably
people
true,
are also
honestly.
refused service from some locations because they can burn things down. And this is not just a stereotype. We see it at multiple points in the movie. But the people who refuse them services are painted by the film as being unreasonable.
I can't speak to that movie because I don't watch that movie. My entire life is not about Disney movies. It's entirely possible that that movie was a bad allegory for discrimination that actually went to justify that discrimination. Sometimes this happens and this backfires, where it's like they make groups of characters different enough that the discrimination would be justified, and then they say, but you still shouldn't discriminate against those people. And this underlies a significant liberal assumption that progressives and you know, socialists do not make, which is that like racism is like fundamentally in the self-interest of the racial power group. It is not. Don't get me wrong on this. White people in a white supremacist system, right? You know, the system has white people on top of the racial hierarchy, as it were. White people are better off in that system than black people. But because the system focuses on that racial hierarchy, because there is a racial hierarchy, everybody is detrimented by the existence of that system. If that hierarchy were eliminated, then people in general like would be allowed to pursue more opportunity in life and things like that. It is patently in everybody's interest for racism to be eliminated, because it also hurts, at least theoretically speaking, white people. You know? It's the same thing with men and women in sexism. Sexism also hurts men. Sexism against women doesn't just hurt women, it also hurts men. Because a lot of the sexism eventually comes back to bear in the environments where it wouldn't just be a question of, like, oh, do I hire a man or a woman for this role? But now, like, the part where everybody has to deal with the consequences of those decisions. Just to give an example, like, if there is a company that produces a certain thing that is looking for applicants for a certain role, and they hire a man over a woman who would have been more qualified for that role. Let's say, you know, maybe this woman has a better resume or just as good a resume or something like that, but for some like internalized misogyny or whatever, they go with the male candidate. Especially, you know, this is the case in the gaming industry. This is a pretty big problem. A worse game will be made as a result of picking a less talented person, or a less skilled, less fitting person for the role, and that harms everybody. And it also potentially can harm people who are not as qualified for the role, might not know as much what they're doing. There's some theoretical literature on this, I'm pretty sure, but like, suffice it to say, it's possible, it's very possible to make a sloppy and bad allegory for discrimination in a movie, or that as the premise for a movie. But the fact that you could use something like allegory of discrimination as the premise for a movie is not itself a flaw. It's just a thing that can be done correctly and badly. Oh, Tony Pizza's having some internet issues. I might need to wait a sec before I unpause. I got lower air off that.
Huh?
So, like, actually, let me bring it back to the movie he's talking about, where it's like, oh, people who have the power to like burn your whole shop down or discriminate against because they have the power to burn your whole shop down. That justifies the discrimination in the context of the movie. Like, if it's the case that like maybe they can't control this firepower or whatever, then shop owners theoretically would be justified in saying we can't accommodate you in the physicality of the shop and whatever. But that is a very sloppy and I think dangerous allegory to make to discrimination in real life, where fundamentally there are no differences between people. Like he said, some people might need a different kind of conditioner, some people might need more sunscreen. Fundamentally, everybody's a person who can more or less have the same degree of accommodation, short of some sort of physical disability and whatever that might make things a little bit harder. But it's not something that would cause a genuine harm to business to accommodate like racial minorities.
Agree that we should do what we can to get along with one another, but allowing those people inside certain places would completely destroy the economy. In the movie Zootopia, despite how different all the animals were to one another, the city's infrastructure still did its best to accommodate each and every single one of them.
Oh yeah, there we go. This is actually a good example of like a movie that does an allegory to like race politics in some ways. Maybe not in other ways. But yeah, the fact that this city has like the infrastructure to accommodate people who are a lot more different than like in the real world and whatever, because they're anthropomorphized animals and stuff. Accurately described as furry bait, I guess. Yeah, okay. I think I agree with that, actually. But, this is that same allegory that he was saying is, like, always drags down a movie, done well. So it's like an example of how that's not actually a correct thing to say, necessarily.
It's a place that seems to make sense. In Elementals, there's literally a water train that goes over Firetown. But Jar, it's supposed to represent how they're not all treated as equal. Okay, factories that spew out toxic chemicals being near neighborhoods where black and brown people live is by no means no way near something like this.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I'll eat my words on some of the stuff I had to say, like, or not necessarily eat my words, but like, yeah, I'm willing to fully agree with them on this point. Like, he just brought up a very real example of racism in the modern world. This is like, factories near marginalized communities like are a fucking blight on society and shit like that. And this is a really bad comparison to that real world phenomenon. Maybe this is what you were talking about when you're like, yeah, this guy is progressive, but for some reason, like, leans in on the anti-woke stuff.
There's no real-world equivalent of a train just dumping acid on people. Apparently, the guy who made this film, no means no way near something like this.
This argues against wokeness progressively. I think it's funny because some of the arguments he provides against wokeness are just arguments against progressivism, but then he, in a way more coherent fashion, just delivered like a 5-second argument about like how to correctly, like, the correct kind of progressive themes to depict in a movie, They're fundamentally contradictory positions, but I'll take a W where I can find it. I thought I had something else to say as well, but I kind of forgot. Or Gore. Let me get this item here and then I'll see what's up. Ow! I'm getting squished! Okay, there we go. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, the whole, like, train driving by a marginalized community and just dumping acid. I think this was recorded before the East Palestine incident. Maybe? Because what he's describing about a train going by and dumping a bunch of chemicals on a, like, very, out-of-the-way community did happen. Wasn't like a, racially marginalized community or whatever. Like, wasn't a predominantly black community, but, East Palestine train derailment fucking dumped chemicals all over the place. East Palestine, very, poor town. And, Government just kind of overlooked it, just covered that shit up and moved on. And that is an example of systemic... I don't want to call it systemic classism. It's just fucking oppression, blanket oppression, fucking bullshit. Yeah. So, you know, he might have spoken too soon, I'm not sure.
Black and brown people live is by no means no way near something like this. There's no real-world equivalent of a train just dumping acid on people.
Okay, yeah, this one. There is a real life equivalent. They theoretically, they didn't do it on purpose, but, like, they had the means to prevent it, the East Palestinians. Whatever, this is a tangent, and I don't think directly relevant to the argument.
He was a Korean immigrant, and this was his passion project. It was something he was dreaming about making for a long time.
Okay, look.
Probably very close to his heart. But I still have to say that out of any
And here's the racism bit. Again, like, is it valid to critique the filmmaker of a certain movie? Yes, especially if the movie's not all that good. But, like, why do you bring up that, like, oh, he's a Korean immigrant? Like, that's the first thing he brought up, is, like, this guy's a Korean immigrant. Like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just gonna say the same thing over and over again, but this guy, like, really just completely incoherent. Because he made a good argument about, like, you know, what does racism actually look like here in a systemic sense? Like, if you wanted to make an allegory towards discrimination and racial politics in the modern world. But then he said, oh yeah, this Korean filmmaker made such a bad movie. Like, what the fuck?
allegory for discrimination that I have seen from anything. This is by far the absolute worst one. By far. Nothing else comes close. I want to make it clear that this is not a terrible movie, but it isn't really a good movie either.
Although it is possible, I should mention, not that it actually necessarily reflects on the guy that made this movie. The Korean, Korean American community is pretty damn racist. For whatever reason, a lot of Asian Americans and a lot of Hispanic Americans are really fucking racist against black people. And I think that has to do with, it could have to do with a couple of things. For Asian Americans, I think, if I'm remembering history right, it's something about, like, model minority stuff. And then with Hispanic Americans, it might be some sort of, like, aspirational model minority status. I don't know. Like, obviously, this doesn't reflect on, the character of any one of the like the people in that community, but there's some weird shit goes on in those in the racial politics of America.
It's just okay, but a movie with a higher budget than the Mario movie.
Yeah, exactly. They succeed, so why can't black people type of shit. Yeah.
And the Spider-Verse movie combined can't just be okay. It has to be great. It's just another movie with a story that you have heard a dozen times over, that is more focused on preaching to you than telling a coherent story. As for Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, well,
again, haven't seen the movie.
How big a hit Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish
I need to see this movie, Puss in Boots 2. I need to see that shit.
was. People know all too well that DreamWorks movies are either hit or miss. For every Kung Fu Panda 2, Shrek 2, or How to Train Your Dragon 2, there's also a Trolls, Home, or Shark Tale. Here's some
That's true.
friendly advice, DreamWorks.
Although I do think it's a massive credit to DreamWorks that they even have that many bangers to their name. You know? I watched some clips on TikTok and I liked Elementals from what I saw. TikTok clips, excuse me, can give certain impressions. I have no intention of, like, watching that movie because I don't feel any particular attachment to the concept or whatever. I have no real drive to see it. I don't know if it's very good or very bad. I haven't heard great things about it, so that leads me to believe that it's probably not that good. But I have, what I did want to say about movies that I have seen from DreamWorks. DreamWorks is one of the few studios whose movies I will occasionally revisit, that are, like, kids movies, but I still enjoy because they are, Like, they're not just good kids movies, they're good movies. Like, Shrek is one of those that revolves a lot around your self-image and stuff like that. Body image and things. And, you know, making fun of a short, like, feudal lord doesn't hurt. That's pretty funny. And I think I haven't revisited How to Train Your Dragon as many times. Kung Fu Panda I have once or twice. DreamWorks just makes some good stuff, man.
Pretty good at making sequels. Maybe make one.
They've
of
made bad
Megamind,
stuff, but they make
Rise
good
of the
stuff, too.
Guardians, or hell, maybe even Ants. When I heard lines in the trailer like, "The women in our family have the power to turn into krakens." Really? Just the women, not the men as well? Or the love interest being black? I'm not gonna lie, I got a little nervous until I realized this
Dog.
was a Disney movie. Something like this from the House of Mouse would have filled me with fear.
Do I even need to address this? I feel like you already know what I'm going to say because I've said it several times. Oh no, I saw a black character and got worried that the movie wasn't going to be good. That's just racism. That's just being racist.
But DreamWorks is a company that I have way more faith in.
Black people, so scared. Yeah, and like, look, I won't lie. There are some there are movies that prominently feature black characters that I saw and didn't think would be that good when they eventually came out. Like the Little Mermaid movie, I saw and thought like this probably isn't going to be any good. The reason I thought that was not because I saw there was going to be a black main character, for fuck's sake. The reason I thought that was because of other things that were present in the movie trailers, namely the super washed out color scheme for what was originally supposed to be a very colorful story for kids to watch, and then also like the fact that it was one of those live action remakes that doesn't have a great track record of succeeding, and all that. I think we're a bit more charitable. He may just think that Disney treats black characters poorly. That is true. Disney does have a reputation of treating black characters poorly, but it's not the race of a character is not the determinative factor there. Like, if we're going by the same logic, right, then, oh god, what's a good Disney movie? But I'm now struggling now that now that this is come up. I can't remember any Disney movies, but like by that same token, there could be a movie that ends up being good that you initially treat with that skepticism because it has a black character, and it like turns out it was completely unfounded. You just look stupid and racist. You know, I think what we need to be taking away here is not just that Disney treats black characters poorly, but that Disney treats characters poorly. Disney doesn't make that many good movies nowadays because they're a gigantic fucking too big to fail corporation. He said he has more faith in the movie since Disney isn't making it and trusts the other company to make better movie without with a black main character. Then he shouldn't have mentioned the fact that the main character is black because that's not relevant to his concern. His concern is the quality of movies that Disney makes. He should be concerned when he sees the Disney logo, not when he sees a black character. The fuck? But I do agree that, like, you know, you're going to be skeptical of Disney. Be skeptical of Disney. They do some really, really bad shit in the way that they make movies. Like, not just unethical shit. We know every fucking company in the world does some insanely unethical things. But, like, I mean just, like, bad filmmaking. You know, if we're thinking about, I don't know, Pixar, DreamWorks, or whatever. Maybe I'm just a bit too charitable. Maybe. That's possible. Everybody died on that section, it looks like. But I am alive.
but there was nothing in the trailer that really caught my interest. It was another generic
Okay.
teenage story that we've heard dozens of times over. Now I'm sure if the love interest
Then he should have led with that. The fuck? I'm not gonna get... I don't want to get too hung up on this.
was
I got
right,
blue
or
shit.
the mother said the people in our family have the power to turn into giant krakens, that this movie would have still bombed at the box office. I think a few people might have mistook this for a Disney movie and decided not to go see it. But even then, I think it would have only made a couple tens of $1,000s more, which in terms of the box office is basically nothing.
Yeah, it's
Whether
not
a
much.
movie is woke or not is not really the big issue here. A movie just
Oh. Well, then we agree, I guess. I guess I don't even need to watch the video. Nah, I'll keep watching. In fact, I'm probably gonna have the stream go a little bit longer than usual because I'm watching this. I don't want to do the two-part thing like I did with the that debate I looked at a little while ago.
wokeness, it just had nothing to offer. And as for the flash bombing, well, I guess most DC movies haven't really been doing that well as of late.
That's
But
true.
Ezra Miller
That's
playing
more
the
of a
Flash
DC
probably didn't
problem.
help. I have a whole video about
Also
this if you want
true.
more information. To make a long story short, Hollywood seems to have this insistence on working with this
He makes the anti-woke content with a progressive lens. Yeah, it seems so. You know what? Honestly, honest to God, I think there's a place for this guy on the internet that's like really interesting because like, let's be clear here. I do think this man is on some retard shit and that his political views are incoherent, right? But is this like a slight towards his character necessarily? No. You know, even the stuff that he's saying that like is racist, I think that's just motivated from some general like internet era reactionism. I don't think this guy's actually that racist, no more than like your average person, which is to say not very. And like this could actually, videos like this could actually be used as a very useful tool to like get people who used to engage a lot with anti-SJW stuff to start thinking more critically about media. Because this guy, for all of the like random anti-SJW bullshit he's said in the video, has introduced some genuinely like, there's some nuggets of like god tier arguments about what makes a movie good versus what doesn't. And I think if people come away with that as the main takeaway, as he seems to be emphasizing here, then yeah, I think that's good. And this guy is, you know, if he can just maintain all of his most of his thought process on like movie reviews and stuff to be more like that, you know. Yeah. Probably why after watching him religiously, I managed to go more progressive than left or right wing after that. Yeah, you know, maybe that is the case. Maybe, you know, maybe I'm being a little harsh. Yeah, no. I mean, if this guy's a anti-woke, anti-SJW progressive who will argue against systemic discrimination, but occasionally says this movie's woke because it has a black character in it, I mean, I'll take it. You know what? Fuck it. You know. World's weird enough. This is like one of the most normal things I've seen recently. Even the fact that he has a rant sona.
This horrible
Which is cringe, unless you make your rant sona a hot furry guy, in which case, cool.
person will also
He's also a Bernie bro? My man.
refusing to work with people like Johnny Depp. I don't know why they just had to have
It's like the fucking Aquaman scene. The Justice League says, my man.
this guy play the Flash. I'm pretty sure the guy who played him in the TV show would have asked for less money. But once again, I already did a video about
Probably
this, so
true.
if you want more information, go check that out. I don't want to annoy my subscribers by going over a topic I very recently made a video on. So, sorry that this section
enough.
of the video is very short. But this is also not an example of get woke, go broke. Sure, Ezra Miller goes by they, them pronouns, and also sometimes uses woke talking points. But
Okay, we're back to retard shit. I don't know what he's talking about here.
everything else they do is not really woke. In fact, in some ways, I say it's the opposite. But now we're getting to the big one. Indiana Jones 5, The Dial of Time.
Okay, my understanding of the Indiana Jones movie, they, them equals woke? Yes, and I am woke because I use any and all pronouns, the most woke. My understanding of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was that it was basically Indiana Jones and the movie studios and Harrison Ford want another paycheck or some shit like that. Just like a nothing movie. Like every time I see like a remake of an existing IP in the theater, I have all the woke. Actually, I am the CEO of woke. If anybody claims to be woke or to be a progressive, you have to ask me if they're really progressive. I get to say that. I get to say so on that. But yeah, what I understood about the Indiana Jones movie that he's about to talk about here is that it was pretty shit. And like it basically was just a cash grab by like studio execs and like I don't know. It just the same shit you like we see with a lot of movies that get remade just because they were profitable the first time, so let's just keep, wringing that cash cow dry and stuff like that. Any or all woke, actually. Fuck, that's so true. Now you're the CEO of wokeness. You know what? No, never mind. I'm taking that title back. It's too funny that I am both Flat Earth Dennis's favorite racist and also the CEO of wokeness. That's too funny for me to not pass up. I need both of those at the same time. Can't just have one or the other. Let's keep going here.
Across the Spider-Verse had a budget of $100 million. Elementals had a budget of $200 million. Flash also had a budget of $200 million.
Oh yeah, this is one thing I've noticed about movies, and this is a fucking, like, awful trend in Hollywood, is that budgets keep ballooning. Like, you could go back to the 1980s and 90s, like, before CGI was really prominent in the movie making industry to the degree that it is today. Budgets, you could adjust them for inflation, and budgets would have been lower on average. And even the high budget movies would be like cost less money than the high budget stuff today does. And that's because like nowadays a lot of the executives and the producers and whatever will just shunt a lot of the work down to the VFX artists, because they're one of the only major industries within Hollywood that doesn't have a union. They're not unionized, so they can't really bargain for really good working conditions, and as a result, like, they keep getting overworked, underpaid, and like basically slop gets put out for fucking massively expensive price tags, because it does cost a lot of money, believe it or not, to hand all that work to the VFX artists, as opposed to like planning it out beforehand and doing it with practical stuff or with storyboarding, costume design, and all that. This is a tangent, but like, that is one of the very worrying trends in movie making, and I don't like it. I don't like how big the budgets have become, because now it sort of disincentivizes a degree of creativity that every movie just needs to be a return on investment. And of course, that's an inherent feature to capitalism. All of this is exploitation inherent to capitalism, when like so few people own all of the whole, like, every stage of production. But it really like results in worse movies. The fact that so few people are giving themselves so much money and like allocating resources so inefficiently and stupidly that like they need to make an ungodly amount just to break even, and that results in worse products. Like, seriously, it does. You can look back at the price tags that movies used to have. It didn't used to always be like this.
Ruby Gilman, Teenage Kraken.
I bet you're a bigger racist than just a robot. Probably. If woke meant going broke, they wouldn't make woke movies. That's true. Go woke, go broke has always been a bullshit talking point, because woke movies that people call woke keep getting made. So that's what's making the money. Because that's the only motivation that Hollywood executives, fucking ghouls that they are, have in mind. They have no respect for the actual art and talent that goes into making a film. All they care about is that paycheck. So if something makes money, they're going to keep doing it. And believe it or not, the sort of there is a disingenuous level of progressivism that is occasionally present that you can't really get away with, because people can kind of see through it. But like, progressivism in movies, at least being able to not have your movie just be full of like crotchety old white guys and whatever, you know, that does make money, and that's you know, that pays off. And so that's why the Hollywood executives are okay with it. A lot of those guys are fucking racist themselves, but it is also just like something that people generally like seeing in a movie, because it like, you can't really get away with a movie that's all white people anymore, because now there's like, black people go to the movies, many such cases.